Adrian, I mean, Wendy Sofstrom, so much fun. And SHRM, I mean, we've associated with SHRM for, decades now. We've spoken at conferences. And their mission really to make workplaces safer and more engaging and all the wonderful programs they do. Mm-hmm. What a wonderful guest. So let me ask you, what were some of your key takeaways?
Well, if you haven't downloaded this mental health report, if you're in HR, do it. It really has some powerful data. I just think, just the numbers she was throwing out, look, pretty much a vast majority of HR people are saying, we've got to focus more on mental health resources to attract and retain people. And yet only 30% or so are considering it a high priority. We've got a disconnect right now on what we can do. And we have to move this to a higher level of priority as HR professionals.
Exactly. She did talk about the shortage of actually how many counselors there are. And now, she makes a great point with telehealth and telemedicine. There's really no excuse not to offer it. 70% of companies have an EAP program, and you and I both know that very few employees actually use those programs. So again, to get the message out that you have these tools, you have these places you can go to get help. And then you asked a great question about, so what's the cost? Can you connect it? What's the incentive for companies to really focus on mental health? And she threw out the number that the World Health Organization said. Yeah. It's a $1 trillion.
Now, you can live on $1 trillion. Yeah,
you can't get a good left-handed reliever for the Yankees for $1 trillion, but you can certainly get more productivity, and that really is a staggering number. We did talk about the fact too that look, $1 trillion is a statistic. What are some of the personal stories, and we've all got those of a colleague, if not ourselves. And so get down to that human level that says, look, I have coworkers, I have teammates that are suffering. And that's when that $1 trillion and all those big numbers really come home and are much more meaningful.
Well, back when we were in corporate jobs, I think you'd probably agree. I never would have called the EAP.
No way.
Yeah, there's no way. I would have spent my own money out of pocket to go talk to somebody if I needed to versus using the corporate because I didn't know how secret or confidential or this or that or the other. So we have got to help our people understand what these resources are, what they will do for them, and that idea that this is going to be confidential. This is not something reported back up, and really help that. Now, I also love that she talked about this idea of belonging, which we just don't hear enough about. But when you think about culture, that's really what culture is. It's, do I feel like I belong here? Do I feel like I fit in? And HR plays a big role in that.
Yeah. She used an expression I thought was really fun and quite beautiful, really, that there's lots of noise around this subject, but not enough music. That we've got programs and we've got stuff and we're not really sure what to do with it. Let's get past the noise and get to the music, to the point so that we can all feel like we have a place that we fit in. And, you want to talk about anxiety levels. It's when I don't feel like I fit in, I don't feel like I belong. Yeah. And that's really SHRM's mission, is to create a better world. I love that grandeur of that mission. We want to help create a better world, helping people fit in.
Yeah, one of our last suggestions would make every effort to get to know your coworkers, get to know their stories, but more importantly, maybe their point of view. Are we asking enough questions? And speaking of questions, our next guest on the podcast will be Michael Bungay-Stanier, who is the author of The Coaching Habit, brilliant coach of coaches. And if you haven't read The Coaching Habit, you're one of the few people who hasn't, and really has some interesting take on how we ask better questions in our organization, doesn't he, Chess?
Yeah, and he talks about how he manages his mental health. And my last takeaway from Wendy was when she talks about her mental health, that her routines are around mind, body, and spirit. And I love that, addressing all the different parts, getting a workout, taking time to meditate and taking time to be spiritual. But I'm with you. MBS, as we like to call Michael, is a delightful guest. If you've got a takeaway from here, please, share this podcast with friends and family and tune in for Michael Bungay-Stanier. He is a delightful guest. And of course, Gratitude plays a big part in managing your mental health and so on. And we are so grateful for our wonderful producer, Brent Klein. We say he's the greatest producer in the virtual world. And we truly believe that he makes all this mess sound good and make it engaging.
But he's not virtual. I mean, he is an actual live human
He's
being.
a real flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And Christy Lawrence, who finds us these amazing guests. I mean, we couldn't do it without her. What else have we got to wrap up here?
If you like the podcast, please share it. And also visit thecultureworks.com. That's where we have a lot of free resources to help you and your team and your culture thrive. And we love speaking to audiences around the world, virtually or in person, on the topics of culture, leadership, teamwork, resilience. So give us a call. We'd love to talk about your event.
Yeah, and just in closing, buy our books, buy our books, buy our books. We've written Leading with Gratitude, All In. Of course, Anxiety at Work. We'd love for you to buy the book and give us a 5-star review on Amazon. That's my plug that our publishers make us say. So have a wonderful week full of wonder and joy and curiosity. Take care of your mind, body, and spirit. And we hope our podcast has helped you have a little better mental health than you had maybe before you listened. Take care and be well.